you copy of each forum? You can word exactly what you need. I don't know. I don't really care either way, whatever you want. Okay, it's 9:30. I'll call the meeting to order. I'll look for my clerk to do a roll call. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the June 5th Committee of the Whole meeting. I'm Jennifer Connor, Clerk of Romero Township. I'll begin with roll call of council. Mayor Clark.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Bell.
Present.
Councillor Snutch.
Present.
Councillor Fisher.
Present.
Councillor Hetherington.
Present.
Councillor Touyour.
Present.
Councillor Bell.
Present.
Members of staff include CAO Zach Drinkwalter
Present.
and Deputy Clerk Kathy Wademan.
Present.
Thank you, Your Worship.
This meeting is being streamed live on the Township of Romero YouTube channel. Be advised that by attending a public meeting of the Committee of Whole of the Township of Romero, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded and will form part of the recording. The chair, CAO, and/or clerk have the discretion and authority to terminate and interrupt the live streaming in exceptional circumstances where content of the debate is considered inappropriate to be published. Attendees are advised that they may be subject to legal action if their actions result in inappropriate behavior or comments. Back to you, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a disclosure of pecuniary interest by a member of council? Go ahead, Dave.
Did you say 4.1 or 4.2, Kath?
2,
Yeah, I will be excluding myself from 4.2 in relations to MAT tax and STRs.
Perfect, yep. Okay, no surprise there, because that's why we split it up and said it here today. So with that, I have a deputation. I have Richard, Staginga. I'm sorry, Richard is here from Baker Tilly to go over our financial statements. And as we were talking earlier, you came in person, so it's got to be good news.
That is correct. Thank you very much. Good morning, Mayor and members of council. Here today to present the financial results and the auditor's report for the township for 2022. I guess maybe keeping in mind, we'll be taking a look at the presentation as opposed to the detailed financial statements, as most people find that easier to follow. Because keep in mind, PSAB financial statements are fairly complex and involved and presented in a different format than how you would budget. So I'll try to highlight some of those differences as we go through, but feel free to ask any questions, because I said they are complex and perhaps sometimes hard to follow too if you're looking at them for the first time. So yeah. All right. So first off, within the draft financial statements is the independent auditor's report. So that is our report on the audited financial statements. And that is a 2-page document that is consistent from year to year. And the second paragraph is the important paragraph that, in our opinion, the accompanying consolidated financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the township at December 31st, 2022, and the results of its operations and its cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. So that is your standard clean, unqualified auditor's report. A couple of things to point out here. One key word there is the word consolidated. So the numbers that we'll be looking at include the township as well as all the boards. So that includes both your library board and the Lagoon City Parks and Waterways results as well. So they're all included in here. And as well, I said, of course, Canadian Public Sector Accounting Standards, or PSAB. And of course, that is the set of financial guidelines that you do have to follow under the Municipal Act. Next, we just provide a summary of our letter, and it incorporates some of the audit procedures that we do. We do review council minutes. Of course, a lot of our work does involve doing testing of transactions throughout your financial system throughout the year, and as well too, looking at things subsequent to the year. And as well too, that looks at all the various streams, both revenues, your inflows, your payments out to vendors, disbursements, payroll, one of your largest expenses, and then as well too, items, journal entries, how things get adjusted. And we do look at that utilizing data analytical tools and selecting things that perhaps either look unique or, and as well too, just on a random basis as well, doing random samples to then generate the evidence we need to produce our auditor's report. And then if we go along to the following page, the audit is complete pending council approval of the financial statements, which I believe will happen on June 26th. Receipt of the signed representation letter from management, and as well to receipt of legal letters. And then overall, there were no significant difficulties encountered during the audit. There were no changes to our initial audit plan or disagreement with management, and excellent cooperation from management and staff. And there were two items that we found that weren't recorded, and they are listed there. Potentially, you might have some receivables that you may or may not collect. So that's the first line. And then the second line there is just some accrued interest on your long-term debt from the last time that you paid them until the year end. There's an accrual there. But those two items there haven't been adjusted. They're well below your materiality limit, but we just still are obligated to make you aware of them. So it's not like anything was missed. So therefore, the interest will always be a factor until you pay those loans off, and then over time we should be able to. You'll have a firmer idea as to the receivables as well. So yes, just there's those two items there to make you aware of. Next, moving along to the financial assets. So this then is on your statement of financial position. So in PSAB, it breaks things down between financial assets and non-financial assets. So these are financial assets or assets that ideally are cash or will be turned into cash. So, and then non-financial assets are the ones that you own and hold, and then to provide service to your ratepayers. So we'll see that a little bit later. Overall, your financial assets did increase slightly, and the components there for the last 5 years are presented. Cash represents your largest largest financial asset, as well as your investments remain consistent with the prior year. Overall, your receivables are up from the prior year, and that's mainly related to subsequent collection of HST amounts. Your taxes receivable, although they went up, you're still considered to be within the low risk range of 10% of your total levy. You're at about 7.6% without interest at the end of the year, compared to 7.1% at the prior year. One thing to keep in mind with taxes receivable, though, you do pay the county and schools every quarter, regardless of whether you've collected it from the ratepayer. So in that case, then you are the banker on that from that standpoint. Land held for resale, that amount went up as some sales didn't quite finalize as anticipated. Your long-term receivables represent monies from sewer users, predominantly for the Brecken sewers. And as I said, your investments remain the same at $5 million, based on cost basis that PSAB makes you record them at. So you had about $29 million in financial assets, and you can see there the growth over the last 5 years. And I think too, the red and the yellow bars are important to keep in mind, as long as you can keep your yellow bar taxes receivable at a fairly consistent rate where it is. And then as well too, as you are able to improve your financial health, you can see your cash balances do go up as well, which they have over the last 5 years. Next, we move to the amounts you owe to others, and these are your accounts payables and your deferred revenues. overall, your payables are up. You did have some items, larger trade payables outstanding at the end of the year, as well to all types of various deposits from developers and builders were up also. And as well too, that explains the increase there in your accounts payable. Your deferred revenue obligatory reserve fund, so this is something a little different for PSAB. Predominantly represents your, I always called it gas tax, but it's Canada Community Building Fund now, and your development charges and your parkland fees. You'll receive the money, let's say today, but if you don't spend the money, you need to, in accordance with the agreement, until 2 years from now, then that difference in the cash that you've collected sits in this account called deferred revenue obligatory reserve fund. So, which is not the easiest concept to follow, but that's how it gets presented. So, and that is a requirement under PSAB. As well too, you have some other deferred revenue, predominantly some OCIF funding within there as your other deferred revenue. And then as well, you have your long-term debt. There was no new debt this year, and you paid down about $340,000. So therefore, you had about $20 million in your liabilities. And then the following slide shows you the details there. And then next on the following slide, we come to the non-financial assets. And these are items, as I said, you don't try to turn into cash. And you can see there, the largest component of that are your tangible capital assets. They did increase this year as your additions were higher than your amortization. And then you have things, prepaid expenses, which predominantly is your prepaid insurance. So these are things that you have and you hold, and then you put into service so that you can provide your services to your ratepayers. And then what's left is your accumulated surplus at about $67 million. And we'll get the detailed breakdown of that on slide 19. But moving along to the next slide gives you a quick idea comparing both your revenues and expenses on a PSAB basis. So when you take a look at the first column within your budget, it's showing that you've budgeted a surplus, but under the tax rate budget, you're not, under the municipal act, you're not allowed to do that. So when you work down that first column there, you can see all the differences between PSAB and how you would set your tax rate budget. Overall, amortization and acquisition of capital assets are two of the main differences. Transfers to and from reserves are not considered a revenue and or expense for PSAB statements, and as well too, debt repayments is not considered an expense either, but you do have to raise the tax dollars for that, or else you won't be able to pay the debt. So that's why it's a reconciling difference. And then when you look at the actual columns, you can see the differences of the items that did occur, and then at the end you can see that the bottom line does bring everything back to zero. Utilizing transfers to reserves as approved, that any surpluses go into the reserve. So that's why then the totals do come to zero at the end of the year. And then the following slide gives you an idea of your accumulated surplus, the 67 million we saw previously. And I guess the main thing to gather from here is that you would always like to see the orange bar be higher than the blue bar, which means then you have more equity than what you just have in your capital. So you can see there over the last 5 years, you can see how the orange bar has grown higher than the blue bar. So that's just an indicator of financial health. So that's ideally, you can keep that going in the same direction. And then as well too, the following slide shows you your PSAB expenses and revenues and annual surplus over the last 5 years as well. So, and as well, you can see there as the blue bar is a little higher than the orange bar there, then that would be reflective of what we saw in the previous slide. Next we come to a snapshot of what's in the detailed financial statement. So this shows all your revenues and your expenses. Overall, you can see there that you were very close to your budget, although there were some various individual differences. Keep in mind when you see the word title user charges, the largest component you have in there is your water and sewer charges of about $3 million. And then as well too, this year you did very well both within your planning fees and your building permits. So those amounts were higher than budgeted, generating the variance there. Just keep in mind, you had more revenue, but when we look at slides a couple pages down, you will see as well that your expenses were higher in those areas as well. Yes, you had some grants from other levels of government, and as well too monies. Other municipalities represent monies from the county, including POA, and as well too. You can see there, the CCBF, you utilized $222,000 out of the gas tax fund, and those were for a couple specific road projects, and as well too your donations and other that represents additional fees this year, and in relation to licensing of rentals and things such as that. So, and then the following slides just gives you the pie chart breakdown of that, and of course historically the property taxation is your largest component there. And then we move along to the next slide, which represents your expenses. And so this is where the monies went. And you can see there, oops, sorry, I went too far. Yes, then this is broken down in the FIR components. Yeah, you're on the right slide there, yes. Overall though, as I mentioned earlier, on some of your line items in your revenues, you were over budget in both building revenues and planning. Well, then you can see here both in protection services where the building costs are, those costs were higher, but fortunately your fire and some of your policing costs were lower, that kept you within budget. And then planning and development costs were higher, and you can see that they're partially attributing to the variance there from budget as well. And then as well within transportation, you were below budget. Environmental services, water and wastewater costs were higher in that area. And as well, health services includes physician recruitment, so that is a larger, explains most of the difference in that line item. And then within general government, you had just some additional costs, including the cost of an allowance for uncollectible accounts that was processed already during the year, so that about 100,000 related to their over budget. So, and then as well too, insurance costs were higher, and you had some additional costs related for negotiations and pay equity costs as well. So as a result, then those amounts were higher than budgeted, but still below the prior year. And then the following slide gives you the breakdown of where you spend your funds on a pie chart, as well. Both historically, transportation and protection services are a lot of the larger costs for municipalities. And then the following slide gives you an idea as to the type of expenses that you've incurred. And then you can see there that a bit of a additional cost both within contracted services and as well to some additional salary costs as well. Some of your material costs were below. And then the following slide provides the pie chart of those costs. And of course, salaries and benefits are consistently in most municipalities the highest percent, one of the highest percentages, that's how you provide a lot of your services. And then we come to slide 19, which gives you an idea of the components of your $67 million in accumulated surplus. And when you take a look at this, you can see that a large portion of your surplus, almost $50 million is tied up in your capital assets. So that's the net book value of your capital assets, less your debt associated with those assets. In addition, as well, there's still a deficit within the sewer works, and that did increase during 2022. And then your equity in land held for resale, as the your land held for resale asset went up, then of course your equity there also increases. So therefore, of your 67 million, 49.5 of that is tied up in the surplus area. So then it's the reserves and reserve funds. So these are then the numbers you have you can utilize moving forward. You can see there was a bit of a decrease in your reserves year over year. Utilized some additional funds within both for working capital and as well too for water services, causing the major decrease there. Within your capital expenditures, the $8.9 million, majority of that is for roads and fire. And then as well, within the other line, you got about 700,000 set aside for water. So that's a specific user group. And then within the reserve funds for the Lagoon City, you have about $1.1 million. Of that $1.2 million set aside for that area. So therefore, you have about $18.1 million of equity that was you can utilize moving forward. And then as well too, that's something you need to look at in conjunction with how your future capital budgets are, your long-term capital plan, your asset management plan, how this number here fits together with those numbers. Because keep in mind, when I said you had about $55 million, I think, in net book value of your capital assets, those numbers are based on historical cost. So that number presented earlier is what you've spent. There's no correlation between that and what it's going to cost you to replace it. So that's then why you go to your capital asset management plan and your capital budget, and then coordinate that with your reserves, your tax rate funding, as well as the ability to utilize your development charges and your Building Canada Community Building Fund and other sources of revenue. And then you factor that all into how you determine then how you're going to fund your assets moving forward. So, and then the following slide gives you an idea of your reserves over time. And I think you can see there over time, the green bar, you've done a good job of increasing that over the last 5 years. And it kind of coincides the increase in that reserve with the slide earlier where the in 2018, your orange bar wasn't quite as high as your blue bar. And then you can see as your reserves increase, then the orange bar does surpass the blue bar on that one slide. And then the following page gives you an idea of how you've spent your capital additions. And not surprisingly, roads and bridges, that is the largest component here. And so when we say that, it's more so the direct costs of construction and linear assets within that area. And then as well to then it's further broken down then for vehicles and machinery and equipment. And then in total, you'd spent about $5.1 million in additions during 2022. And then the following slide gives you an idea of your additions versus your amortization over the last 5 years. You can see there both in 18 and 19 and even 20 that additions were lower than your amortization, and then the last couple of years you've been able to increase that. And then the following slide gives you an idea as to the unamortized amount of your average useful life. And therefore too, the one thing to keep in mind as well too, a more recent addition, a larger addition will have a large impact on this because it's more current value. So it'll make the green look a little greener than perhaps other columns. And then the following slide gives you an idea of your net financial assets over the last 5 years. And on that slide there, you can see in 2018, yes, you were in the red, and now you've brought that up and you're nicely into the black. So hopefully then that gives you the resources you need moving forward to both complete the projects you would like, and then as well using your sources of revenue, also then do the capital you need, and then provide a stable indicator to everyone of what your tax rates will be, as opposed to having to adjust them significantly for unforeseen items and you didn't have the reserves to then cover that off. So that is a summary of where things ended off. So
Thank you, Richard. Any questions from council? I guess the one thing that was nice to see, when we're amortizing out our assets, you always want to make sure you're improving them faster than they're depreciating. And that was one of the slides you showed near the end, and we are doing that now. So we're actually staying ahead on our long-term assets as opposed to
correct, yes.
riding on your assets, yeah.
Yes, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Questions from Councillor Snudge?
I think it was the second slide, you had unaccounted receivables. When you say uncorrected, that means they're corrected in the financial statements, or you're just bringing it to our attention they're not in the correction is not in the financial statements?
Sorry, yes, they are not corrected in the financial statement, so that is just a difference when we think it should be here and the township thinks it's here. So, and of course with allowances for doubtful accounts, it's always a bit of a gray area until it's finally determined that you can collect it, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Well, either you did a fabulous job, which I believe you did, or we don't understand. But I'm going with the I'm going with the earlier one. No, you a great presentation, makes it very easy to understand when you go through it, and it's a lot easier when you're seeing the green and no at risk than years ago when we were really trying to figure out, okay, what can we do to change this? How can we undo the damage? Yes. So it's good to be on the positive side. However, we always want to keep our mind on efficiencies. So if there is no questions, then go ahead, Dave.
No, I just want Zach to comment on one thing. A lot of people are going to look at this and say, well, look at the cash, look at what's been done over the last 5 years. But Zach, maybe you want to comment on what's going to happen in 2024, because now we're going to really start spending this money on some of these capital projects that we've had. So there will be a substantial decrease in 2024 in our financial position. Am I correct?
In our cash.
Sorry, an increase in our cash?
No, there'd be decrease.
A decrease, yes, correct.
Substantial.
Yeah, yes, we're dipping into reserves to cover a lot of our large capital expenditures. So, but that's the reason we built up reserves, is to cover these large capital costs without having big swings in our tax rate. So we are going to see a decrease in that, but it's to be expected. Every 5-10 years, you're going to see a big dip into cash for capital spending. And as things get more expensive, it's going to be more drastic.
On that, some of our reserves actually was carryover money though from unfinished projects. So that money was already technically spent, but you're right, it's sitting in our bank account.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, any other questions or comments? So I have a recommendation that the 2022 consolidated financial statements for the Township of Remerra be adopted as presented. Moved by Councillor Hetherington, second by Councillor Bell. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you. One quick final comment. Yes, it was a good report, and that's reflective too of your staff doing a good job. So it's always good that you're reporting for municipalities and over both your financial results have improved over the last years, and so is the financial results are more prompt too than a number of years ago as well. So that's always good to see. Yeah.
Thank you. So, that it, Council? I think we're early for the seniors flag raising, right? It's not till 11. So then we'll roll right into our agenda with administration and finance and Councillor Snudge. Why don't we just do that one last? All right. 4.1. Do the rest of your agenda and we'll deal with it at the end, and then that way. So start at 4.2.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have.
Excuse me, sorry. 4.1, they're right on the agenda, they're correct. So 4.1 deals with the STRAs and 4.2 does not, deals
All
with
right,
hotels.
so we'll start with 4.2 then.
Yeah, we'll just put 4.1 at the end and then Dave will leave while we deal with it. We just
Okay.
shuffled the deck.
All right, so we have 3 items on the agenda today. The first one is a notice of motion moved by Mayor Clark. Whereas council at the June 27th, 2022 council meeting ratified the direction to charge a municipal accommodation tax, or referred to as a MAT tax, and directed staff to prepare the necessary bylaw to require hotels to charge a MAT tax. And whereas the intent of the MAT was for the Township of Remer was to be directed to offset the cost of bylaw enforcement regarding STRs. And whereas during the budget deliberations, the Township of Remer increased the licensing fees for STRs, and as such is no longer necessary to implement the MAT tax. Now, therefore, the Township of Remer not proceed with the implementation of the MAT tax. If I could have someone put that on the floor for me. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Bell and Mayor Clark. Any questions or comments?
Self-explanatory.
All in favor? Passed. The next item is a 4.3 compressed work week, 6-month trial. The council received report AD 0912, and that council endorses the attached HR policy number 2.17, compressed work week, 6-month trial, and that the compressed work week trial, that says trial, begins September 23rd for a period of 6 months with a follow-up report sent to council in March 2024. If I can have someone put that on the floor for me through. Thank you, Councillor Bell. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Bell, and Councillor to you. Questions or comments? Mayor Clark.
I guess I'll start us off. I get, we had no idea this survey was out, so we're just kind of wondering where it came from. Like, we didn't just do a pay equity, that was done a year or so ago. We've gone through our budget. Again, not saying I'm opposed, just wondering where it came from.
Yeah, so when we did the pay equity study, we decided we were going to take a more holistic look at all of our benefits and really focus on non-monetary benefits, because as the salaries go up in surrounding municipalities, it forces our hand in salaries to stay competitive. I think it's very hard on our budget when we do those big salary increases, and I wanted to look more at what other ways can we compensate employees or do a benefit or work-life balance that's non-monetary, to help with retention and to get new employees. So this is one of the things we've been looking at, with all the other municipalities starting to look at a compressed work week. Ours is a bit more, it's more of a compressed every 2 weeks, because of our small staff complement. But as the other municipalities do this, we wanted to get ahead of it or do it at the same time to keep us competitive. But I think this is a good non-monetary benefit to help with staff and work-life balance. So as we were after the salary review, we decided to do the survey and get staff's take on it, and it was positive feedback on it, this policy.
So supplementary, then I would assume then, and there would always be somebody representing an department here in the building, so you would stagger these times that both my treasurers wouldn't be out the same day.
Exactly.
Just picking on you because you're sitting here.
Yeah, so I put an emphasis on with my senior leadership team that I always want coverage from every department, and that's never changed. I've wanted that since I took the CAO position. I think if somebody comes in to talk to somebody and they want a specific department, we should have that person here. I think it gives a nice face to the township and always gives people access to the information they need.
Okay.
Thank you. I have a question myself. And as I say, I haven't formed an opinion on this either, because I've just been trying to think it through, and I haven't had an opportunity to talk to any residents or really any staff. I was wondering why you picked Wednesday as the day off. To me, if I was trying to encourage people or make it as a benefit of working here, why wouldn't you pick a Friday or a Monday rather than a Wednesday?
Yeah, and we did look at Fridays and Mondays as well, and we may implement that after the 6-month trial. The biggest issue is we already have a lot of staff off on that take Fridays off throughout the summer. So if we had additional staff with a Friday off with the compressed work week, and Mondays were tough because of council meetings and committee meetings. So we avoided Mondays. So we pick Wednesday, one, to keep everything consistent, so we can track people's day off and we're not short-staffed anywhere. And we kept Mondays and Fridays for the same reason. So it's just more of a trial. And if it seems to be working, we can maybe look at Fridays and Mondays. But as of now, Wednesdays was a way we could have a bit more control over it at the start.
Councillor Bell.
Not a question, just a comment. I am in support of this. I think it's important for staff retention, but even more importantly, I think it's a work-life balance that staff here need, just like they do anywhere else. So from my perspective, I think it gets us current with what's happening in most workplaces in 2023. And I think happy staff means happy residents. So I'm definitely in support. And my comment was just thank you. And congratulations, the way that you set up Team A, Team B. I read through it all. I can see how the chart works, and I can see that we'll always have great coverage. So it should be a seamless transition from the resident perspective. Anytime they contact, they're still going to reach the same people they were always reaching. So I think it's really just overall a great program.
Thanks, Sherry.
Deputy Mayor Bell.
Sure. I guess I'm on the fence. I mean, this is a surprise to me going through the package, but I'm not seeing this as a way of, what I'm seeing the majority of businesses out there doing, maybe municipalities, and it looks like it's kind of split with a few of the municipalities we've chosen. I'd like to see some more information on more municipalities, how they're doing it. And is this only for management and directors, or is this for all staff?
Yeah, so this is for all staff. Managers and directors, I've had a discussion and want them, they're going to be more flexible, and they understand, maybe a day off in a compressed work week, they still might have to, take calls and stuff from me and council possibly. But this is more for our staff. We've done a lot of research with other municipalities and got a lot of their policies, and we've picked kind of the best sections of each policies, things we didn't like about certain ones. There was a few we looked at with Springwater. Algonquin Highlands was a big one. They had a really good policy that we liked, so we pulled a lot from there. But we did look at a lot of municipalities surrounding us, a lot of comparable municipalities for policies.
Okay, just supplementary. I'm just curious, are we having an issue with retention? I mean, me coming on board in November, I haven't seen a retention issue. So, because this will definitely take care of a pay increase for 1 year, but it's just for 1 year, and then it's just part of the package, right?
Yeah, we have had retention problems around the time I started, maybe a bit after that. We had a lot of issues with retention and attraction. More recently, because of the initiatives we've been taking, we haven't had that issues, and we want to keep it going. We've had great success with keeping staff. I believe and I hope our staff are really happy here. It seems that way to me. I'll give one example. We have a treasurer that came here from Hearst because of what we offered, and I think and I hope she loves it here. I'm not getting a head shaking, so from talking with staff, I've heard we have a lot different culture and just more respectful. We have a new staff in the building department that was in a different career path and just says how different it is to work here. Everybody's helping each other. You can ask anybody questions. And I like to think part of our policies and what we've done is building that. So we're really just following the same path we've been following and try to be proactive with our staff and not have retention issues and not have attraction issues. We want people to know in the industry we're the municipality people want to work and attract the best staff. And I think we're doing that.
Councillor Heatherington.
Thank you. I'm just wondering, is this, by implementing this, are you going to get rid of the working from home?
Right now we have staff 1 to 2 days a week at home. in some departments, not all. So we don't have a lot of staff working from home. Like I said, 1 to 2 days a week. We planned on keeping it the same because we haven't had any issues with it. I did let SLT know that, you know, if we do have issues with this compressed work week and working from home, they conflict or we have coverage issues, it'll change and it'll be in the office.
When you say you have staff working from home, how many would be working from home all total?
I don't know if I have that exact number, but
Yeah, I would say it's not consistent. Like, it's not like someone works from home this day every week. It's just, you know, if they need a day at home, that's when they work from home. It's not consistent, I would
No.
say.
yeah, I would say the majority of our staff are in the office at this time.
So I have my own question again. So you don't keep track of when staff work from home, because that's fine because they're working anyways. But how are you going to keep track of these Wednesdays? Because there's always going to be times, like, I'll ask that question to Brittany, the administrative, and then you get, you know, 3 or 4 months down the road and someone says, well, I'm owed 5 days because this Wednesday you asked me to do this and I took it on the Tuesday, but then on the Monday. Like, how do you monitor all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, when you were talking about the Wednesday, why is it Wednesday? I think when we started this policy, we wanted something that was very straightforward and easy to follow, and there's not a lot of room for movement within the policy because we want it to be administratively as easy as possible. So in order for the directors to try and administer it, we're going to try and keep it to Wednesdays as much as possible. If there was a need for a shift, then that would be up to the directors to, you know, manage that within their own departments. The idea is, you know, keep it as clear and consistent as possible. And then if we, you know, realize it's going really well, then we can maybe loosen the reins a little bit on the policy and allow for some more flexibility like you were referring to with the days. But right now we're just trying to keep it as streamlined as possible.
Yeah, I just think it's make complicated. People say, well, I got appointments on Tuesday. Can I switch my Wednesday to the Tuesday? And anyway, my second question is that, you know, part of the department heads is to lead and to manage and to motivate. And when you're not here and your staff's here, who's in charge? I guess I'll ask that question to Zach.
Like, do you mean if they're off for a day, like a department head's off?
If you yourself are off for the day, how do you motivate and manage your staff as effectively as you would if you were here?
Well, I mean, there's different reasons to have a day off. There could be a week vacation as well for a manager. So I don't see it being any different than that. A lot of departments have a deputy or you know, a manager. So they would rely on their staff to motivate and you know, direct staff while they were off on vacation or off on a compressed work day or sick, you know. Many departments have that.
Every second Wednesday works out to another 26 days a year, which is equivalent to about another 5 weeks of holidays. So you feel you can motivate and manage your staff just as well from working 1 day out of your home as if you were in here seeing and watching what's going on.
So you're talking about myself?
Well, you can use whoever you want.
Yeah,
I'm
so
saying a
say
department
myself.
head.
So with this policy, I mean, staff don't have to use this policy, or I don't have to use this policy. I don't plan on doing the compressed work week. I do feel like I need to be here the days I'm working. That being said, when I do work from home 1 day every couple weeks, I haven't had any issues. I'm always talking to staff. I'm always on the phone, especially with my directors. You know, I use Zoom, and these are the days where, you know, I have an appointment in Bobcaygeon, so I don't drive here an hour and go back, you know. So that's typically what happens. But you know, I haven't had any issues. I have great communication with my senior leadership team. Not only that, all my staff. I'm in contact with my staff all the time as well. And I, to be honest, I pride myself on making sure I'm talking to people, walking around, seeing what's going on, seeing the issues, seeing where I can help. So.
Okay, Councillor Bell.
Thank you. I wanted to add as well too, just for perspective, I come from a background where working from home has been a thing for 20 years. And it's just as successful in a flex program where people can schedule their lives a little more appropriately. So, and I think something worth mentioning is in 2023, to book appointments, medical appointments especially, is treacherous and tricky at best. So one of the things this would help with is that staff could then know that Wednesdays is their day, and they would know that from now until the end of the year, which would give a ton of flexibility to be able to schedule those kinds of appointments that most of us have a hard time getting, period, never mind around a structured Monday to Friday schedule. I think the world is turning in a different way, and this is very progressive, and I feel like as a council, we've made progressive choices and decisions to move the municipality forward. And to me, this is just a policy that supports that direction, gets us current. I say all the time, municipalities should act like businesses, because they are. And to me, this is just falling in line with what any leading edge company would do in the year 2023. You would be looking for ways to keep a work-life balance in all aspects of the job. And I think this contributes very well. You're not losing any hours and you're not losing any people. And from the public perspective, absolutely nothing changes. This is an internal change that they won't even see. So I just want to kind of sum up my position on it that way. Thank you.
Mayor Clark.
Well, we're still getting the hours of work out of the employees, just structuring it a different way. And as far as Zach, I can't remember the last weekend that you and I weren't on the phone on a Saturday or a Sunday. I can't remember far enough back that it's never happened. One that concerns me, and I'm looking at the survey, 6.67% said no. What were their issues with it? I just want to cover off what were their concerns?
Yeah, Brittany can probably address that, but just before that, I just want to kind of address Sherry's. This is a six month trial as well. I want to make sure it works. I want to make sure I'm happy with it, and I want to make sure council's happy with it. And that's specifically why we did a 6 month trial. So sorry, Brittany, go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. Yes, some of the concerns were people being worried about more people being off on Fridays, which we're addressing by having the Wednesdays off. Another comments around people having extra long weekends. Again, that wasn't the intention of our policy. Some people just didn't think it was going to work. And again, maybe it won't work, but that's why the trial's here. So, I mean, there's always, challenges, and hopefully we can overcome them, but those were some of the concerns people had.
Well, I know we actually have a few employees that like to come to work every day. That's, because as you said earlier, the attitude has changed here. I've been here long enough to see things, go up and down over the years, and the overall morale that I see is quite good here right now in all departments that I can tell. Yeah.
So would this be optional at all? Like if I've got someone I got to pick up at daycare every day, okay. Can I opt out of this?
Yeah, so it's an optional program. You either have to opt in or opt out. Yeah.
Okay. And Councillor Heatherly, did you?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, when did you want to implement this?
September of this year. We wanted to wait till after the summer, just to see what after the building season, and then just kind of take a soft approach and to make sure it works before we go through a busy season with it.
And Councillor Fisher.
Thank you. Actually, Councillor Stutch, you asked my question for me.
Okay.
We just saw the hand.
Deputy Mayor.
I guess the next question, Zach, would be, are you prepared for the fallout if you try this for 6 months and pull it? Because some people are going to love it and be really upset after they've had it as a part of their life.
Yeah, we're a small municipality, and if I can't ensure that I'm covering, I have staff coverage because of this policy, I can't support it. I need to make sure that I'm comfortable with that residents are being served properly, and so if anything affects that, I can't have this policy go forward. But I think I've got a good team, and I think it will work, and that's why I'm bringing it forward. But yes, I am prepared after the 6 month to pull it if I have to.
All right. So are there any other questions from council? Councillor to you.
I was just wondering if as a result of this, would new staff be hired to fill in any missing spots, or is this all balanced so that it's same staff but just managed differently?
Yeah, it'll be the exact same staff, and we don't plan on adding any new staff because of the policy.
I guess my final comment is that, I just found out about this on Wednesday in reading the draft, and I just wish I had more time to make an informed decision. So I'll be passing on this, but if we're ready, the vote here is going to be, and that the compressed work week trial begins September 2023 for a period of 6 months with a follow-up report sent to council in March 2024. All in favor? Passed. 4.4.
Kathy has her hand up there.
Sorry, would you like a separate report on this for when it comes to voting at council?
No. 4.4, delegation of authority to amend the records retention schedule. That council delegate the authority to the municipal clerk to approve and amend the Township of Remero's record retention schedule, and that the delegation of authority bylaw be amended to include this delegation. Can I have someone put that on the floor for me, please? Councillor Heatherington and Councillor Tuyu. Questions? All in favor? Passed. I will now turn it over to you, Mr. Mayor, for 4.1. I'm just going to go here.
Sure. So the motion on 4.1, much the same as the motion we did on the hotels, only this one is to do with the short-term rentals, the Airbnbs. Any questions on the motion? Gary, yep.
In the paragraph starting in, and whereas, as such, it is no longer necessary to implement the MAT.
Yes.
I would like to see it is no longer necessary at this time.
At this time?
At this time to implement the MAT.
You'll move the motion with that amendment?
I will.
All right, you'll second that, Councillor Bell. Any other questions? All in favor? That is carried. Opposed? No. Okay.
Joe isn't here.
Yeah, you can come on back, Dave. There you are. And you're up to unfinished or new business. Gary and Sherry are the mover and seconder with that amendment.
Okay, so now we come up with unfinished and new business. Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Councillor Snatch. I have just one item, and I'm bringing this as the liaison for the Romero Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber has, as you know, sorry, I'm just going to pull up an email here so I can read you a bit of information. The Chamber, as you know, has a new office administrator who started in December. And since she started, there's been a great movement on her part to bring a whole bunch of Romero businesses into the Chamber fold that previously weren't part of it. So when I last spoke to her at the end of the week, I believe the number is 24 new businesses that she's brought on board. She has increased the social media presence of the Chamber of Commerce, and the likes and shares are growing. The businesses are learning as well to like and share because they know they can count on the Chamber to share on their behalf. And one of the things that the businesses have been asking for is a job board here at the township offices, either at the planning desk, the existing board, or a new board sort of towards council chambers on that wall there that would be specifically dedicated. So what Mary did actually was for Lafarge, she did it via social media, a job posting. It garnered 2.6K reach, 18 shares, 2 applicants in less than 24 hours for the position. So even just with that little one piece of social media presence, she was able to have a great reach. The folks from Lafarge, very, very happy. When I talked to her at the end of the week, so happy, she said that the different quarries are now vying for her attention and her support to help them find employees. So the ask is, can the Chamber either use the existing board or put up a second board that would be completely dedicated to job postings for Romero's businesses? we would use a system where we have a template and we create a policy around what the posting should contain, when it can be posted, how long it can be posted. So the format will always look the same. It won't clutter up the hallway or anything like that. But it's part of a bigger picture and piece of the Chamber of Commerce and the township being able to work together and promote and support our businesses. And this is something they're asking for. So the ask is quite low, really, from the township. It's just a little wall space. Maybe somebody from the township's team would put it up just to make sure that there's no electrical hit or things like that. And then I offered that I would maybe go to Zach or Human Resources and just ask them to review the policy and procedure that we pulled together to make sure it's, you know, current and reasonable and presents well when it's up on our hallway. So, and so the motion is just, yeah.
Well, my comment on that would be every job board I've ever seen ends up being a mess. And I don't think there's a need for people to come in and look at the job board. I think it should all be done electronically. I think it'd be great, but we're also not in the business of finding employees for different quarries. So I don't know why the Chamber of Commerce couldn't do this through their website. Most logical place that I can think of. Mr. Mayor.
What's on the board now? The one that's out there, I looked at it.
I think it's advertising for programs that the chamber's doing
the chamber,
and
sure.
businesses as well, correct? Sherry? Yeah.
They just use the
Yeah, in front of their,
window.
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, and that doesn't give them enough space. And to be clear, it wasn't just quarries that were asking. It was just the first time that Mary did the process. It was with a quarry and it was very successful. But overall, this is something that Romero's businesses are asking for. And the reason that it would be reasonable to place it in that particular location is that all of the trades who are doing any kind of development in the township are in and out and looking at that board. So, and then any of the people who are coming in and out, who are also building things on their properties, are looking at that board. It's very centrally located. Any businesses who are coming in to find out information from the chamber, or residents for that matter, who are trying to learn about Romero's businesses, come to that office to learn about Romero's businesses. And then as a result, the job board would be there for them to be able to find out what opportunities are here. I think it's an important piece of, I've been doing a lot of research on how chambers of commerce relate with their townships across the province, which is upcoming on the agenda today. And part of it is building a very, very strong connection between the township and the chamber so that we can put joint initiatives together and support our businesses. And this is just one small piece of that overall package.
I think it'd be great if we had a working relationship, but from my understanding, I didn't go to the casino for the thing, but I thought from the feedback I've heard, the council, the chamber is not very happy with their mayor council and working with us. So I would think you take that into consideration as well, but they're comments from other people. Councillor Heatherington.
Thank you, Councillor Snutch. I think Councillor Bell has hit it on the head. These are businesses that we're trying to help or trying to get up and running in Romero Township. We're asking new businesses to come forward. That's more membership for them. I don't have a problem with it, but I do have a problem. I don't want to see companies from Georgina Township or York Region or Durham Region advertising. I don't want to see advertisements for yard sales and strollers and kitchen stoves and that sort of thing on there. I think it's an initiative. David, yeah, maybe it's time to put the olive branch out there and let's try and work with these guys a little bit. Two wrongs don't make a right. However, we got to start somewhere. I'm quite prepared to give it a 6-month trial and see how it goes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I can support that. I just wanted to make sure, Sherry, if you could take it back to the committee also to reach out to economic development at Simcoe County, because they have job boards, they have job fairs, and we need to get linked up and get on their website as well, if it's about helping our local businesses find employees. I mean, that's half of what we do at economic development now, because there's help wanted signs everywhere. So we're trying to link employees with our businesses, and I'm fine with, You just want to use the board that's there right now. Is there much on it, Zach, that we could clear some room, or?
I just don't want to get to the point where this now becomes a staffing, our staff ends up looking after the board. So that's what I'm concerned about.
But that's why I say put it on a probation, give it 6 months and let's see what comes out of it.
So is someone making a motion here, or are we just discussing this today? Sure, go ahead.
Oh, thank you, David. Just a bit of a redirect as well, too. I think Councillor Fisher wants to talk, but I want to, so you're right, the AGM, there were some of the speakers, not necessarily the chamber, some of the speakers did talk about other things that maybe weren't as positive, particularly related to Aurelia's Lake Country. And so I think what you're talking about is a bit of resistance to change. And I think we all know that people don't like change. So, but just because we don't like change doesn't mean that status quo should stay. And I've been working really closely with the chamber and its members. And I feel like we have the opportunity right now to say, let's leave status quo where it is, and instead let's really start to develop a relationship. I mean, eye on the prize, right? So ultimately what the chamber is trying to achieve and what the township is trying to achieve is progress, economic prosperity, people who live here happily, people who work here happily. And I think, I know that the AGM was an interesting moment in time, but it's
Sorry, I
also
just want to
behind
clarify,
us.
I was not there. I'm just telling you what I've heard from
I
other
know.
members of council that was there.
I know, and I appreciate that. And I know that among the chamber members, there are some as well too who felt like some of what was said wasn't necessarily their position, or that they might not have liked to present things quite the way they were presented that night. I have committed to this project overall, building a spend local, which is upcoming. We're going to talk about that. And I think the only way we can be successful at doing this is to quite simply leave the past in the past, move forward from here. Our chamber has done good things over the years. They, like all of us, you know, we all are trying to enter a new era, a new way of doing business, a new way of thinking. And I think there's an opportunity for us to work together in a different way than we have in previous years. This job board is just a small piece of, I think, what we can achieve little by little. And again, ultimately, the goal is support and progress Romera's businesses.
Deputy Mayor Bell.
Sure. I've taken in a lot of the comments. I'm not opposed to it. I'm just not understanding the benefit to it, to be honest with you. I don't think people come into the township office looking for a job. And I think that if there was things going on where they want to promote their businesses, we should allow that. But this, at the end of the day, it has to remain a township office. And if it's a small space, I'm not opposed to a trial. But again, I just don't see how they're going to be recruiting or how they're going to record how beneficial that'll be to people coming in, and how do they know that they came in and seen a job board and that's where they were able to get them, recruit them, right?
This is our own businesses, Deputy Mayor. It's not some outfit from Aurelia. These are taxpayers. And that's why I say, let's give it a shot. Let's do it for an experiment and see how it works. If we start seeing personal ads on there for businesses selling food or whatever, then it's gone. But these are our taxpayers, and I think we owe them that.
Oh, I get that. What I'm saying though, my point is that people aren't coming here looking for a job. So if it's a job posting, is it really beneficial? I'm just not seeing that benefit. I'm not opposed to it, Gary, or Councillor Hetherington. That was my comment.
Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Councillor Snutch. I think there's a couple things that I wanted to go back on. I just wasn't able to get in to speak. The one comment was made that you don't want it to turn into a staff issue. I think that's one of the benefits by having this run by the chamber, is the policy will be created and it wouldn't be our staff that would be taking care of it. Second comment is, regardless if it's a benefit for the Chamber of Commerce itself or not, it's actually a benefit for our businesses in the township of Romera. And anytime I've been in and looked at that board, it's 3/4 empty anyway. So if there's something on it and it generates interest, that's fantastic. So if it only benefits one person and one of our residents is able to get a job, one time in the next 6 months, then I think that that's a benefit instead of a no benefit.
Councillor Bell.
Thank you. Just to what Keith was saying, part of the process and part of the policy will build in, just like you would on any other job application, where did you hear about us? So that way, the chamber will be able to measure, did they find out from the job board here? Did they find out from social media? Did they find out from the chamber's website? And I mean, and ultimately it could even be hosted on our website at some point in time. Like, so there'll be the opportunity for it to be evaluated from different directions to find out where people found out about their jobs and how the success of it, how many applicants they received, that kind of thing. This really is businesses asking for it. So I know you guys think that job boards are out of date, but if our businesses think that they're still relevant, I think that's the motion I would be putting on is, let's do a 6-month trial then. And if it's okay with the township to use the existing, we would do that. Otherwise we would, so that part's up to Zach.
Yeah, we can have a look at which is easier or better for us.
And then I guess I would say too, just to keep in mind, it will be the Chamber of Commerce who administers. So they'll know what date they put the posting up. They'll know what date the posting needs to come down. Nobody else will be doing the postings. It won't be businesses themselves. It will all be streamlined. It'll be a process. Yeah. Yep.
All in favor? Passed. Opposed? All right, so now any more unfinished or new business? All right, I will pass that back to the mayor with a reminder that you have, oh no, we did that. So now it's back to you.
Okay. And, I will move on to Culture and Rec, Deputy Mayor Bell.
Sure, we have one item on the agenda, 5.1, the Remera Experience. Terms of reference, the Remera Experience. Recommendation that the Remera Chamber of Commerce partnership with the Township of Remera to form the Remera Experience Subcommittee be received as information. Someone put that on the floor for me. Councillor Heatherington, seconded by Councillor Bell. Okay, I'll open up for discussion. Did anybody want to maybe give us some insight as to what motivated this this decision or idea?
Yeah, absolutely. So as we know, and as we just talked about, we did not support a destination marketing organization because we don't at this point in time have a destination. However, we may have a destination when the Rema Road corridor starts to develop and things will change in the township over time. So this notion, this idea is a way to drive a spend local campaign. And when we talk about the Remera Experience, we're playing off of the Simcoe experience. And what we're saying is we know we don't have a destination where we're asking tourists in the classic sense to leave the GTA, for example, and come to Remera Township. But what the Simcoe experience does as well is it invites people to move from one area of the township to the other, and it invites residents to spend their money at local businesses. So local can mean Remera itself, and local can mean Simcoe County. So one of the things that I have worked with the chamber then is instead of looking backwards to having that destination marketing organization, the DMO that we were supporting in previous years, shift our perspective, shift our thinking, know that sometime in the future, we may be able to support a DMO and we may have a tourist drive in that direction. But for now, the thing we need to do is drive and support spending local. And so I started to do some research into spend local campaigns, and I researched campaigns all across North America. I pulled together a document that highlighted, for me, probably the top 10 to 15 campaigns I could find. And these were created under incredible branding. They involved a great partnership between the township and its Chamber of Commerce. The way these campaigns rolled out, the ideas are some of them are just fabulous, and the success of the campaigns that I saw in comparable townships to our size and comparable townships to the kinds of offerings our businesses might have, it really encouraged me that we I think can build something very successful under the Remera Experience. So the notion here is that we would create a subcommittee. It would be representative of Ramirez businesses because it would include 4 business members. The chamber has already started to work with me on this and has been reaching out to some of these new businesses who have joined the chamber. The businesses who have started to hear about this already, very, very excited. Really excited to think that there's going to be a joint effort to support them, to drive the Spend Local campaign, to put a Ramera experience on the books. You'll notice in this presentation, there's a blank spot that says logo name. I can tell you that we have a very exciting tagline that we want to work with to build one facet of this whole overall campaign. We've done some work on how we would hashtag it so that we can spread it on social media, and we've done some work on the kinds of things we could do with branding, storefront windows. There's a whole lot of things being done, and I want to tell you what that tagline is because I think it's exciting and businesses are excited, but I'm not going to tell you today because the subcommittee is not formed yet. The meeting is on June 20th at 3:00 and it's here. And council, of course, staff is invited to come when we reveal what this tagline is and we start to talk more specifically about where this campaign is going to go. For this year, what we're looking to do is put together a 6 to 8 week Spend Local that will take place between Thanksgiving and the Christmas season. It will be very targeted. It will have benchmarks, and so that we're able to collect data, so that we're able to create benchmarks so that moving forward, we can find out how successful are we with Spend Local. And we have a ton of ideas to back it all up. For today, though, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag on all the good stuff because I want to release all that on June 20th. That's kind of the direction that the chamber's feeling with this, is come out with a bang. So we'd love to have everybody come and listen in and learn where we're going with this. And again, this is a go forward. So this is a new direction for the chamber, a new direction for the township. Right now, the ask for the township is really supportive more than anything. So we're not coming, the chamber's not coming today and asking for dollars. More, we're asking maybe we would create some material and the township would support us by posting it. Working with communications as a second set of eyes and a proofer and a person to make sure that between the township and the chamber, we find connection on our messaging and on our branding. So we had received some funding. I helped the chamber apply for and receive some funding under Simcoe County Experience. And that funding will be for professional photography and videography, one stream. The other stream is for marketing. And under that, the videography, we have some ideas about the kind of video we would do this year that would be a kind of more all-inclusive video, and then obviously moving ahead, different videos for different sectors would be the goal. And then under that branding and marketing, the intent this year is to spend the bulk of that money building an incredible Ramera brand.
Okay, there's a couple of questions here. I'm just going to lead off with a couple of things. One, I guess we have to look at the impact it's going to have on our staff, how much workload it costs to us. And this is almost stepping on the toes of the Economic Development Committee that's already formed. I'm wondering if there's any way of utilizing it as that partner for this. But I'll just throw that in as a comment and open up for other questions. Mayor?
Well, that was one of my comments. I'm trying to think, should this be a committee of council or should this be a committee under just the Chamber of Commerce themselves? And the other one I wanted to add, if we're going to have the committee, as a non-voting member, somebody from Simcoe County Tourism should be at these meetings. You would definitely want to invite them there because that's who we are working with. But yeah, I'm trying to think if this is something that should be a committee of the township or one that a subcommittee of the chamber themselves.
Well, we all looked at the financial results of the presentation earlier today, and we've done pretty well by sticking to our budgets. I don't know why we bring things up during the year. I mean, we're already in June. To me, this would be something that we can look at for the 2024 budget. It's staffing times. We've already heard from staff members and their availability and the times that they can put into these projects. The chamber has their own. I can't believe you already don't have a relationship where you can pick up the phone and try to coordinate a message with Ashley that's consistent with the township and the Chamber of Commerce. I definitely agree with the mayor. This should be a subcommittee of the Chamber of Commerce. And if they have specific requests for council, then they should bring it through the liaison to council. I just don't see the why we're introducing things during the year. We have to have discipline to stick to the budgets and the discipline again to plan ahead. And if it was in 2024, then we can consider, all right, this is going to cost us $5,000. What $5,000 do we save somewhere else to put that in place? So I'm not in favor of this.
Thank you. Yeah. So first of all, there's no money being asked for, to be clear. So, and I understand that if staff uses time, there's a cost to staff using time. I did speak ahead of, with Zach about this before I brought this to understand whether there's room for communications to be able to post things on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, which is essentially all we're asking for this year. Anything that comes to Ashley would be written by the subcommittee that the Chamber forms. As I said, there's already Romero businesses who are excited and ready to jump onto that subcommittee. And because they, of course, have a vested interest in the success of a Romero experience. So the long-term picture is a lot bigger than just this moment and just right now. So the ask today is simply, does the Township of Romero's Council want to drive our local economy by working with the Chamber to increase local spending, increase visibility of Romero's businesses? And so there's no financial ask. There's no real ask here other than, can you believe in the Romero experience? Can you believe in Romero's businesses? Can you believe in the Chamber of Commerce and the township to work together to support that initiative?
No, your ask is to set up a committee. I mean, that's what this is saying. You are asking us to set up a subcommittee.
Sorry, David, the committee is a subcommittee of the Chamber of Commerce. We're just asking for support, that the township would support the Romero experience. What we're asking for is council's support. And that's the sum total.
I guess it's very cloudy as to what support means. I don't think we should be posting things for businesses on our township site. I don't think that's necessarily, there definitely has to be a division. I've been involved with lots of chambers, the city of Aurelia, the Muskoka, Bracebridge, Barrie. The municipalities have a good connection, but they don't do that in support. Like they don't advertise on our webpage for that.
So through the chair, so it's not advertising, it's running a Spend Local campaign. And all of the research I did, every single township and Chamber of Commerce who was driving Spend Local, we're doing it together. So whatever was seen on the Romero Chamber's website was seen on the township's website. So we're not talking about advertising, right? We're running a 6-week campaign. And through the course of that campaign, we're going to be talking about Romero's business, celebrating Spending Local. So the messaging that the township might support, I can't tell you what it is today. We haven't built a strategic plan as of this moment. The committee forms on June 20th. At that point, we'll pull together the 6-week campaign that we're looking, 6 to 8 week, that we're looking at having some support from the township on. And so it would simply be a matter of the chamber gave Ashley material, Ashley posted it. So we're not asking for communications to spend any real time other than proofing, which is something that we would do back and forth anyway.
Okay, Councillor Fisher, then Mayor Clark, and then Councillor Heather. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The one thing I know, Councillor Bell, that you and I have talked about, so maybe just to add a little bit of clarification, Councillor Snutch had brought up that it was coming up in the middle of the year. And I know that there's not a financial ask, but the reason why sometimes these things come up in the middle of the year instead of at the beginning of the year at budget time is that is when the grant became available to apply for. So to defer this until a new budget year wouldn't be probably not even appropriate isn't the right word, but even doable. So I just wanted to point that out. And also with our conversations too, the support you are looking for is to back this up. Like we're to be cheerleaders. Like, yeah, we want our people to spend local at our businesses rather than having them go out and find a roofer in Toronto, come all the way up. We have roofers here rather than, if we have other services that we have them here. We don't have to go outside of Romero to find them. And I don't see as a council how not supporting this isn't in our best interest. These are our businesses that pay taxes to our municipality. These are our residents that are wanting to survive and live and thrive in our municipality. So to say that this is not something the council should do, I totally disagree with.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Clark.
I guess where I differ, as soon as we're forming the committee, that falls on our clerks. So what I'm saying is, I see this like Lake Country. So if the chamber wants to form the committee and ask for a representative, council will appoint a representative to that committee. But I see it as a subcommittee of the chamber. I think the chamber forms the committee and then invites us to send a member of council, much like we did the Lake Country, like we used to do the doctor's recruitment. And yes, absolutely support it. I would move that we would send a member of council to sit as a representative on that committee. But I still think it's a committee that should be formed under the chamber. So their baby, their committee, we send a rep.
Councilor Bell.
Yeah, thank you. That's exactly what we were hoping to do. Is it's a subcommittee of the chamber, and we're just looking for council's support of our businesses. Really, at this point, no monetary support. Cheerleader is a great word, but we should all be cheerleaders for our businesses. I mean, that's our role. That's what we're here to do. So I think what we're looking at right now is very early stages. This will be a small campaign out of the gate in the first year. My vision in 5 years is to grow it incredibly, but we need a starting point, and that's what this is. And I think to also Jen's point as far as timing, the chamber had Aurelia's Lake Country asked for support in January, and it was only in January that we did not support them. So therefore, this is a brand new direction. In previous years, the chamber didn't attempt to try to do this kind of big spend local, and they didn't try to go to Simcoe County and ask for funding to pull something like this off. So the timing is just a function of when it happened, and it's not a function of any other thing. And as far as working with Simcoe County experience, I would have requested that anyway, so that I can have more direct contact, so that we can bring our experience in line with what Simcoe is doing. And I actually think that we could be a leader for all of Simcoe County's different municipalities in building an experience and knowing how to market it properly. So I think actually what we could do could be very trend-setting. And when I looked at some of the most successful campaigns, the impact that it had on local businesses was incredible.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to back up to what the mayor was saying, because if this is just to form a committee, a subcommittee, there's no need for council to get involved. And I guess where I'm getting confused, are you asking for staff to attend these, or are you agreeing with the mayor that we would attend by sending a liaison or something to these meetings? I still haven't got that clear.
So I'm asking for council to be supportive of a spend local campaign that supports our businesses. That's what I'm asking for. The subcommittee will be created under the Wimmera Chamber of Commerce. I'm the council liaison, will still continue to be the council liaison. I may become part of the subcommittee as a
But
resident of
we
the
already
township.
support the Chamber of Commerce basically in everything they do. So I'm still confused as to, if we're just receiving this as information, we can move on.
That's what the motion is.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing.
So no staff at these meetings or anything?
No staff, no
All right.
cost.
I guess what I
no
want to
nothing.
hear is that our council is supporting our businesses. That's really the message that
Of
I'm
course.
sending. And what all I'm asking to hear from our council is, yes, we want to
Of
support
course
our
we do.
businesses.
I don't think
Yes, we
anybody
believe
has
in
to say we
spending
do. I
local.
think we
Okay,
all
so
do.
this is just for your information. The ask is, can you support local? Do you believe in the Wimmera experience? Do you believe in a partnership between your Chamber of Commerce and the township to drive our local economy? That's what this is. And it's also a request to join us on June 20th at 3 p.m. in council chambers when we unveil what the 6-week campaign is all about and some of the tactics that we're looking at to drive it. Again, those won't be set in stone because it's a committee forming day, but it will certainly be an announcement about what this might look like and how we can move it forward.
Okay. If there's no more comments, we'll just put this to a vote that we've received it as information.
I've been sitting here quiet. I've heard 3 times, there's no money. We're not asking for money. Secondly, if there is no staff involvement, it'll be designed by these people and cut and sent over if it's something involving promoting the business. I don't have a problem with it. The more we can promote our businesses and keep people shopping and buying in our community, the better for economic growth. So I don't think they're asking for the world here.
No, I agree. I think it was just clarification. Everybody was just trying to get their head around it. That's all. Okay. So all in favor, we received this as information. Carried. I'll pass it back to you.
Just one quick question. What time on June 20th? Because I'm at county all day.
3 p.m.
Oh, possibly. Yeah.
We can modify, Mayor Clark, if you would be happy to join us. We can certainly push that ahead by an hour.
No earlier than 3. Yeah,
Right,
and
good.
then
So
I
we can
make-
always modify the time. That's not a problem. The invitations are just getting ready to go out. Thank you.
Sorry, any unfinished or new business, and then we'll finish this up. I'm not seeing any. All right, back to you, Mayor.
I will go to environmental services if, keeping mindful of the time, it's 11 o'clock, we'll head out, or do you want to head out shortly, take a break and head out shortly? Well, for the flag raising. I think we can probably wrap it up here. So I'll turn. I figured you might, and that's why I'm asking. So why don't I leave that one for now, and we'll go through all the others, and then maybe we'll break for the flag raising. So how about I go to Planning and Development, Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mayor. There are no items on the agenda, so I'm looking for any new or unfinished business. Deputy Mayor.
Just one thing on a new business, meeting at the county after talking to a couple of different municipalities, something came up that they're looking at, and I don't think we charge it, but I'd like to be some information on it if we could. It's the community benefit charge for developers. I'd really like to know more about that. A lot of them are having, extra funds coming in from that to help pay for libraries or recreational centers or upgrades. And it's, I think, something with all the development we're looking at, we should be looking at for sure.
Is that,
Yeah, I can maybe just comment. It's very specific when you can charge it, and I don't believe we have this. I think it's a story limit on a building when you can start charging the CBCs. So I don't think any of our buildings would qualify, and that's likely why we haven't put it in place. But it's something I can look into and then definitely discuss with you or the rest of council. But I think there is specific.
Or minimum houses within a subdivision, is what I understand.
Exactly, yeah.
thank you. Is there any other new or unfinished business? Seeing none, back to you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Protective Services, Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Your Worship. There's nothing on the agenda today. Is there any unfinished or new business? Seeing none, I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you. And Councillor Hetherington, Transportation Services. Look at that, Gary. First time ever.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Any unfinished or new business?
Just a very brief one. I wonder if Josh could look into again, can we expand our mosquito program? I know we've talked about it in the past, like trying to make it township wide. I get this request every spring when the mosquitoes are bad. I know we weren't allowed to under the provincial rules. I see Dr. Chuck Garner is now talking about West Nile has now arrived in Simcoe, Muskoka, and under that mandate, we may be able to. I just want you to look into it is all, if it's possible to expand that program larger than the area that we do now. And do you need a motion for, or can you just look into it?
I can look into it and bring a report back to another committee meeting.
All right. Do you want a motion, clerks? I'll move that if somebody will second.
Seconder? Deputy Mayor. All in favor?
That's it.
Passed. Any more unfinished or new business? Deputy Mayor.
Yep, just one thing. A couple of residents have reached out to me from Lagoon City, and I mentioned this to a couple people, but this temporary speed bumps that we can put in for seasonal, just to control speed, especially at bridges. A lot of the concern was the boats coming in and out to slow the tractors down when they hit the hump, to hopefully prevent some damage. I'm not sure if that's a viable solution, Josh, or how expensive they are to put in.
I can look further into it. I think they're about $6,000 to put in. Putting them on the bridges, I'd highly recommend against it. There's already quite a slope and a hump to get up and over those bridges. One of the concerns for certain roads anyways, surface treated roads, there's nothing for the speed bumps to physically anchor into. You're only looking about 1/2 inch of asphalt there. It's a little different on hot mix. You got 3+ inches of something for the anchors to bite into. So depending on the road, we'd have to look at different options, but I can get some pricing on some different options, so.
Thanks, that's all.
Counselor to you.
Just further to what the deputy mayor was saying, while we've still got you here, Josh. I had asked you a month or so ago about the removable speed bumps for Creighton Street, and you had indicated the same sort of thing, that there was no sort of anchoring possibility with certain types of, or the width of the road even. And residents have come back to me saying, well, what about the ones they have in Metro? Or what about, aren't there rubber ones that they just lay on top? Do they have to be anchored? And I'm just wondering if there's any last chance possibility for Creighton Street before at least we get this photo radar thing.
If I might say, and I'm not trying to answer for Josh, I think I get people saying to me all the time, we should have speed bumps. We should have speed bumps. There's a procedure. And I think, Josh, you will agree with me. We put the speed camera in to identify the issue. And then we worked with the reports from the speed camera or the speed signs to determine whether, like, this is a big investment, $6,000 per unit. And I'm not against saving lives, but everybody wants speed bumps. So they're going crazy down here and they're speeding. And if we put the procedure I would suggest to the public is we'll put the street on the list. It'll get a survey. If they're speeding, boom, maybe we've got to come back and look at it. Am I
Okay, with
wrong?
that, Counselor, I've got to do a hard stop. We have a flag to raise,
Okay.
folks.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back. Madam Clerk, if you can confirm we're all, I don't see Jen yet. I see Josh. He's going to vote as proxy for Jen. Are you, Josh? Is that the plan?
Sorry.
Just waiting for Jen to come back, or somebody can let her know we're back.
I'm here.
Okay,
I can confirm all of council is present, including Councillor Fisher on Zoom.
thank you. And I'll turn it back over to you, Gary, just to wrap up the unfinished or new business.
Thank you, Your Worship. Josh, go ahead.
Yeah, so there's a couple different things with essentially our roads. It is difficult to install some forms of speed bumps. You can look at permanent speed bumps, but the issue with the permanent speed bumps with our equipment, because we're so rural, dirt roads, and then we come in and plow the paved roads in the cities, our snowplow systems are designed for a one-way snowplow blade that can't rotate. We are slowly modernizing the fleet to have swing blades so you can straighten the blades out. With permanent speed bumps installed, like in Metro and some other areas, the plows with our fixed one-way blade, when they come up and go over the speed bump, it deposits the snow on the roadway, which creates an additional hazard. So with monitoring it, basically you'd straighten the blade out, go slowly up and over the speed bump, but we're just not at that point yet. With that, I'll look at different options. You can do meandering belts, kind of, so you're bringing traffic up and they have to go around like a center island to slow things down. From a previous committee meeting, there was an initiative to bring a report forward with different options for speed controlling. I'm currently working on that. City of Toronto's got a lot of great ideas, but it's trying to fit those in our current road allowance, where 90% of our roads, we don't have shoulders. So to put a traffic island, we're essentially having to rebuild that road, or to meander traffic around certain things to try and slow it down. We're going to have to rebuild the roads essentially. And with these new construction projects that may be coming up in the future, we could look at some traffic calming situations that could work for us. But in the meantime, I'll look at weighted speed bumps. They are available. It's an added, we have to be out there daily to inspect them to make sure they're not falling apart or going here, going there, that they're always anchored down. And it's just that safety aspect. We got to look at everything. So, but I'll bring a report forward to a future committee meeting with different options for speed control. So I don't know if that kind of answers questions or made more.
Thank you. Councillor Bell.
Thank you. And we already did just have this conversation about Simcoe Road, I think last meeting, and I know, so have you ordered the signs, the share the roadway type signs? Yeah, great. So that's a start on that one. The other thing, the speed bumps that got put in down by the swing bridge are a good example right now of fairly recent speed bumps. And so what we've seen down there is immediately people started to drive around the speed bumps onto the adjacent properties. And then you saw the people on those properties start building barricades so that people couldn't drive around the speed bumps and onto those properties, which not optimal in the winter, and especially down in that location. And then I had put in a report of concern because the other thing that happened down there was somebody then ran over the signs in the middle. So when I went past there, the sign was essentially into the roadway like this. So I guess I know you're going to bring back the report, but I just want to kind of say, like, some speed bumps they're an idea, yeah, but they also present other problems. And then I also wanted to say I have reminded the residents of Lagoon City on many, many occasions, and also out on Lakeshore, one of the most effective ways to control or combat the speeding problem is to report it to the OPP. So on an almost daily basis, it seems, I put out the link to report a crime so that people know we can increase patrols by having the report a crime online form being used. And that, for sure, you can help yourself. And this is kind of the way I keep positioning it, is help us help you. Right? So let the police know that there's an issue in a given area. And I think I've mentioned before, I did that process with a particular area down on Lakeshore, and we heard the OPP themselves stand here and tell us that they then deployed patrol in that area. And So reporting it was a success. Like, it's a fact. It was a proven fact. We know that trying to pay for paid duty officers is expensive. Don't want to have to go down that route. And so since we're already paying for policing, if we can just have our residents reporting this, it will help the OPP know where in the township we need them. So I just always want to come back to that. And then, if you don't mind to have latitude for 1 minute, this is just a really positive note that I want to share. And I was going to do it by email, but I would actually prefer to do it publicly. So I had put up a post talking about Romero Road 47 and keeping people up to date on the progress. They were really grateful. And I received this comment: "What a fabulous job Romero Township staff and Dufferin Construction did in paving 47 this week. Minor disruption with a great result. Well done. Sherry, please pass compliments on to the staff." That received 16 likes, 3 comments, including another comment from a resident who said, "A huge improvement, much better to drive and bike on. Thank you," he said, "Councillor Bell," but please know that I also responded saying I absolutely had nothing to do with that, and all the congratulations goes to the township and our infrastructure department. So don't get a lot of opportunity for public shout outs, so thank you, and that's all.
Yeah.
Any other business? Just one thing to back up what Councillor Bell was saying. I was on Laguna Parkway the other day, and a gray car with blue and red lights had a car pulled over. It's in a community safety zone, so if he was writing her a token, I'm quite sure it'll be double fined. So they're out there, they're around. You just don't see them as often because of these unmarked cars. Anyway, anything further? Nothing? Back to you, Your Worship.
Thank you. And with that, on to our last item that we moved ahead, which is Councillor Tuyu and Environmental Services. Go ahead, Dana.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There is one item on the agenda, item 6.1, Modernizing Ontario's Environmental Assessment Program, ES 0523. Recommendation that Council receives report ES 0523 regarding the Ministry of Environment's efforts to modernize the environmental assessment, or EA, program in Ontario. Can somebody please put this on the floor? Deputy Mayor Bell, thank you. Can I have a second? Oh, sorry, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Now I'll open it up for questions and discussion.
I'd just like to speak to the item. Diana she had a presentation to go with it today to talk about it, and she's really the expert on this. She woke up and didn't have a voice this morning, so she isn't able. So we're hoping to move it to another meeting, so she can give her presentation on it. I think it'll be very informative for you guys.
That's correct.
To defer.
So we'll have to, so I'll put a motion on to defer it.
I'll second it.
Okay.
And I know you had comments, Madam Chair, but probably the comments should be heard by Diana.
After the presentation.
Yeah, no, they should be.
So I
Yeah.
guess we'll defer.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay, all in favor of deferring then? Okay, that's passed. Is there any unfinished or new business? No, seeing none. Back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry about that, Madam Chair. I didn't see that one coming. So I know you had comments, but they're best shared in front of everybody. So with that, I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Heatherton, second by the Deputy Mayor. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you.